Educating, informing, serving. Fact TV, keeping government honest.
Good evening and welcome to the special joint board meeting of the Bellows Falls Trustees and the Rockingham Select Board. It's 5:31 and we are down in the Rockingham Lower Theater. Those of you who can access by Zoom, please do. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Any additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that will require ratification in future meetings? Hearing none, okay.
Got a hand already.
Yes, is there a hand? Yes.
Union update.
Yes, we can add that, although we have to do a different motion for that. We can do that.
Yeah.
I didn't hear
An addition of motion to go into an executive session for union updates as well. Okay, and so we are here specifically to go to further our discussion on the municipal manager, which is confidential, and for union. So we'll need motions for those two items. If you want to start on your side, Peter, or someone read.
Madam Chairman, I move that the board enter executive session to discuss the appointment, employment, or evaluation of a public officer or employee, but the public body must make a final decision to hire or appoint in an open meeting, and it must explain the reasons for its final decision under 1 VSA 313A3. Second.
Motion's been made and seconded to enter executive session. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 All right, I need a motion on the village side.
Oh.
Make the motion that we enter an executive session to discuss the manager search.
Oh.
And to discuss the employment or appointment or evaluation of a public officer or employee, but the body must make a final decision to hire or appoint in an open meeting, and it must explain the reasons for its final decision under 1 VSA 313A3. And furthermore, to include in that executive session, discussion on labor relations and union agreements. Is there a particular statute I should quote on that or not?
Whatever's on, let's see.
You need the card to do that
On
one.
union.
Yep.
Number 8.
Number 8. I thought
Yeah,
so.
okay.
Yep. Thank you,
Yep.
Peter.
Yeah, labor relations.
Labor relations with employees for 1 VSA 313A1.
You need a second?
Second.
Okay, motion being made. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
We would also need to
Thank
make
you.
a second motion on that. Because when you do number 8, it has to be one of those. It has to have a second motion.
Okay. Okay, second motion, I move that the board enter into an executive session to discuss labor relations contracts under provisions of Title I, Section 313A1 of the Vermont statutes.
You second?
Second.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Thank you, folks. We are now in executive session. We are now it's 6:03 or 6:04, and we are starting the Bellows Falls Village Trustee regular meeting. It's Tuesday, September 22nd. We're down here in the Rockingham Lower Theater. I'd like to call the meeting to order. Are there any additions to the agenda for routine administrative matters and or pressing matters that require ratification at a future meeting? I have one. I'd like to add 25 Hapgood Place to number 7. We could put it under G. I don't care. So it'd be the last one. 25 Hapgood Place. And we will go have an executive session after number 2, which is on the police department. So we will take a brief break on that. It shouldn't take very long to come back out and take action, and then go back with the rest of the meeting. Next on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for September 1st and September 8th regular meetings. Anyone want to make a motion we can discuss?
I'll move approval of both minutes.
All right, a second? Okay, they've been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All right, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you. Public comment on items. Anyone would like to make public comment out there in here? I see no one. Okay, with their hands up. All right, then we move on, move on to the wastewater department and the sludge press proposal. I think, Rob, you here? Where are you? Okay. You need a microphone, please press on. He's got one right there.
So, hello, my name is Steve Nermy. I'm the sales manager with Resource Management Incorporated, RMI. Joining me via Zoom meeting today, we've got our president, Sheila Connolly, our manager of compliance, April Sargent, and Charlie Hanson, who is a principal and also a senior project manager. Yes.
You need to talk directly into it.
Okay. What I would like to do, if there's a way to play a video, is there a way off a thumb drive to play a 4-minute video? Let's give it a shot.
So you can keep talking while.
Yeah. Okay. So Resource Management has been in the business of recycling organic residuals for 26 years. We're based out of Holderness, New Hampshire. It's the Shinchi technology that we're talking about tonight is technology that we represent also, which we've been working on for the last 2 years or so. So Rob and I have had several meetings about how we could bring in this dehumidification technology to help manage the biosolids at the Bellows Falls wastewater facility. It looks like the video is coming up here. The best way to get an idea of how this technology works is just by watching this short video. So I'm glad that this is going to work. Here we go.
Good volume.
The top 3 reasons somebody should go with the Shinchi technology, one would be cost savings. The footprint is the smallest on the market. And the third being, it's simple. It produces an on-site Class A product. It's ready to ship directly to farm.
Can you? Technical difficulties, we are working on it. Okay, here we go.
Competitive products are hundreds of RPMs, hundreds of degrees. We're 5 RPMs and 170 degrees. Much more of a dehumidification than a dry. The Shinchi 4800 evaporates 4,800 kilograms of water in a 24-hour period. This facility is taking in 16.5% solids and discharging 93% solids. 2 proprietary things with Shinchi is the slitter and the heat pumps. The heat pump's extremely efficient. The slitter is rollers, kind of a pasta machine, versus an extrusion, which can clog up with the fiber. So we're going to take you right through the slitter, where we increase the surface area by making noodles. Those noodles will be laid down on a belt. It's a perforated belt that allows dry, hot air to come up through the bottom, as well as convection on the top. It travels down a top belt, it turns once. It comes back on the bottom belt, and it's discharged at 90% solids. The footprint is the smallest on the market. There are really only 2 sizes. You've got a small unit and you've got a large unit. So it's not like we have models for all these applications. It's modular. 1 is 7.5 feet wide, the smaller unit. 10'2" is the larger unit.
Here at Hooksett, it's a very challenging type of wastewater solid to get the water out. This is just what they call a secondary plant. There's no primary sludge being wasted off the process. And after some initial challenges here, we're consistently getting about 17%, and the dryer is handling it great. We're easily able to keep up with the solids production coming off the process. So in this case, in this Hooksett installation, it takes about a little over 3 hours to get all the way through those belts. And at the end, you get out a 90+% dried product. We got into this because we were interested in making a great dry product and reducing the impact from having to transport all this material. When something's wet, you might have 5 loads of it, but when you dry it, you have 1, and that works out great.
We found operation costs and maintenance costs to be very low. It's about once a week maintenance, takes 1 to 2 guys, about half an hour, 45 minutes. The monthly maintenance takes about 4 guys, 30 minutes to 45 minutes. And as far as addressing the costs, the superintendent here installed a meter just on the room itself, which encompasses the dryer and all the conveyance. So we can get real-time operating costs. To run the dryer 24 hours a day, it costs about $5.85 an hour. That also translates to be about 180 kilowatt hours to dry 1 wet ton of product, which is even better than we could have expected. RMI is committed to compliance, and our commitment to compliance ensures that the permitting process, not only for the installation itself, but for wherever you choose the end product to go. And we really hope that that land application is a smooth, easy transition. And most importantly, RMI is providing a solution to our municipal and industrial clients.
Great, thanks, Chuck. Okay, so that gives you a good overview of what the technology is. You folks are currently hauling 30-yard containers about 140 miles up to Coventry to a landfill. And what we would do is take that 295 tons of water right out of there, dry it down to 90%, which would be a 3.5 time reduction of your solids. We do it via the process that we just saw in the video there. It's really a dehumidification rather than a drying. The cake goes into the slitter box, which creates a noodle shape to increase the surface area. That's put down on the top belt. It travels one way down the belt, 5 RPMs, flips once, comes back on the lower belt, and discharges at 90% solids. The warm, dry air is going up through that perforated belt, drying the cake. It also has convection, goes through the top belt. It's going across the top of the dryer. It's being recycled, brought down. Condensers evaporate the water, which goes out of condensate back to the headworks. And the dry hot air goes through a proprietary heat pump, which is extremely efficient, the numbers that April shared in that video right there, and goes back to the other side and goes through the belt itself. So we would reduce what you have right now 3.5 fold for your numbers. Rob, anything?
No,
Then okay.
I think it's something to try. I believe, I'm looking at it as it's a cost savings for us. I don't know where the sludge is going to end up. I don't know how long the landfill is going to be taking sludge. So it's just another opportunity for us to look at and try this as a pilot and see if it even works for us. And then if it does, then maybe possibly move forward with actually getting one and actually keeping going with it, because at the end, it's a beneficial use if we can get it to use it as land application and either use it as a topsoil product or, farmers, fields, whatever.
People on the Zoom call probably can't understand you. You need to point to my interface.
Okay, is that better?
Much.
Okay. So that's my take on it. I believe it's the way we should be looking at going, is trying to dry our cake and not basically haul water up the road, and reduce the volume.
So this right now, if you were to, again, we're a beneficial reuse company. We're hoping that the long-term solution to this is as a fertilizer. But the reduction, even if it were going under your current model, would save well over half of what you're paying right now just by the reduction in weight. What the Shinchi technology does is on site, it creates a Class A biosolid. So 2 things need to be achieved for a Class A biosolid. Pasteurization, which is time and temperature. So that lower belt that we're talking about, it spends over a half an hour above 70 C. And there are reports that are generated from the dryer to prove that it has achieved that. So that's how you get your pasteurization. And then you also have to achieve vector attraction reduction. So being a anaerobically digested cake, if you maintain your 38% reduction with the digester, you only have to achieve 75% solids with the finished good that's going out to stay compliant with vector attraction reduction, which those two together, pasteurization and vector attraction reduction, meet EPA Rule 503. So that all of a sudden gives you the option on site to go direct to farm as a fertilizer. And the volumes, the reduction that would be out there are so minimal, it would be, in my mind, very easy to distribute that finished good product direct to farm. So there's no hauling anywhere for processing. You're not hauling the water anywhere. The reduction on carbon footprint, roads, bridges and all, it would be going straight from the facility to farm. And our initial model right now is to manage it through super sacks. So a 1-ton super sack that ends up weighing out, they're 1.5 yards, somewhere around 900 pounds. That would be available to go direct to farm as a fertilizer. Just trying to think here. Also with Shinchi, as far as the technology, it's new to the US. I said that Resource Management, we're the exclusive representative of the technology east of the Mississippi River. But Shinchi's been around since 2003. Technology was invented by a thermal engineer. The slitter and the heat pumps are proprietary to Shinchi. The efficiencies are really due to that heat pump, and it's got heavy patents on it protecting that. So 2003 was the first application for drying fruits and vegetables over in China, and 2008 was the first application for biosolids. So it has been out there for years. There are over 400 installations globally. So it is not serial number one that we're looking at. It's just new to this market, and we're excited about the opportunity to implement and partner with the municipalities that are out here, and also have a take product that is currently going to landfill and have an excellent fertilizer for beneficial reuse.
So I'd ask, what cost do we have, Rob, for the pilot program?
It was, I believe it was in your pack. Yep.
It scribbles on the base. You don't have to move this.
It's in here.
I believe it was in your packet.
Yeah.
Well, there was some financial information, but
Yep.
we really need to see a more detailed financial
Okay.
picture. So, but it certainly sounds interesting. The question I had, which is kind of basic, is all sludge the same?
There are different types of sludge.
Huh? The question was, this is this application takes the sludge and processes it, dries it, whatever.
Yes.
Okay. So, is our sludge applicable to this process?
Yeah, the sludge that you have being anaerobically digested, you're averaging 26% on your solids, which is great. It's right in the wheelhouse. The dewatering that you have on site right now has Siemens components. The dryer has Siemens components, so they can have a dialogue between the dryer and the dewatering that's there. The pilot prior to this, we're moving this unit from Brattleboro, where we've done a pilot since October, and the technology performed very well. It's not a large enough unit for their needs down there, but that was an anaerobically digested product as well. So yes, it's very similar. We can take your cake right now and run it through a pilot that we have going in Hooksett, New Hampshire. We've done that for several other municipalities, and you're welcome to stay there and watch the process. If we bring five 5-gallon drums of your cake over there, we'll put it right into the slitter box. We put a marker, and you can be there as it discharges, and they've got on-site testing for that. It'll come out somewhere between 91 and 93% on the other end, and you can take that back with you. But those 5 buckets will probably give you about 1.5 buckets of product to take home once it's dry. Yes, Charlie.
I'm sorry to interrupt. I just to also address, I'm not sure the gentleman's question, but I will tell you that RMI is very familiar indirectly with Bellows Falls biosolids, because up until a year and a half ago, Bellows Falls used to go to the Claremont compost facility where the solids were composted. Bob, I don't recall how many of you all have been going there. We have worked with Claremont over the years to manage their biosolids in a beneficial use program. So Bellows Falls historically has taken their solids and they have gone into beneficial use. It's just been through a compost door. This, as Steve was pointing out, is going to allow Bellows to create a product, but a much product, quite frankly, there on site direct from Bellows Falls. Thank you.
Sheila, April, anything to add right now? Okay. Go ahead, Ryan.
Jigs, if you need financial or more numbers, Sheila's the one you need to ask. She's the one that's got all the numbers.
I think part of our concern is looking at doing a cost evaluation of what we're currently spending
Thank you.
Right.
on handling the waste at this point and what we will save, looking at comparisons
Right.
to this program. So.
Right.
Particularly, Rob, if I would imagine that volume is a key variable in the economics, the quantity of sludge.
Sure.
Okay. And so I want to see an analysis that basically would take the current volumes and then project perhaps lower volumes. There's been a uptick in septage, from the pandemic, and if there's ever going to be a normal, then volumes could change, and I'm just not sure. I mean, we'll always have sludge, but the question is, how sensitive. If our costs, for the unit are fixed, and our revenues or the savings are variable, then, we need to look at that. So.
Well, there's the 4,800 in this specific unit that we're referring to means it dries 4,800 kilograms of water in a 24-hour period. And we ran your specific data for the last 12 months, and your average was 3,343 kilograms per 24-hour period. So that gives you, on average, you've got it with a little bit of room for growth in the dryer there. So as far as being suited, this dryer right now for your needs and a little bit of growth would be what we would recommend for a dryer. The units themselves, as we said in the video, there are modular. So you could add one more unit on there, make it a 7,200. And then at that point, starting with a 9,600, Shinchi goes to a slightly larger unit, which rather than being 7.5 by 8 is 10.2 by 10.5. And that you take all the way up to 111 feet with what it is. So those are just modulars. And what you're doing is you're extending that belt time that's in there based on your throughput. So they're specifically designed for the input and throughput of the specific client that we're working with.
What about housing of the unit? Where would it go?
It would be in the same bay that'd be inside where the roll-off dumpster is right now. So it'll be, it basically looks or be about the size of the roll-off dumpster is best described to me, as far as the footprint.
In your current discharge from the dewatering room into that room would feed the slitter.
It's high enough so it just drops in the top of the unit, which is.
So we wouldn't have to build anything new.
No,
we might have to modify where it comes in to put a slide so it gets to that chute. The opening is the only thing that might have to happen, is where to take that to it, and that's it. That's until it actually gets there and you put it in there and see what, you can run a tape measure and do all that stuff, but until you actually get there and start playing with and put it in place, it's kind of hard to figure it. But with this thing, it actually can grow if we grow, you know what I'm saying? So you can add to it. So which is another good thing with the unit. But did you have anything to add, Sheila?
Yeah, Sheila Connolly here. Can you hear me?
yes.
Okay. Great, thank you. I just wanted to answer a couple of things that came up. And one of the questions, are all the sludges the same? I guess my answer to that is not all sludges are created equal. Only the good stuff can be turned into fertilizer. And this technology allows you to do that right there at Bellows Falls, rather than, as Charlie described, trucking it over to Claremont and letting them convert it into a fertilizer. So this eliminates the trucking either to Claremont or to a landfill up north. And it says, okay, we can put in this drying unit right here at Bellows Falls and convert your wet cake into dry biosolids fertilizer in under 4 hours, probably closer to 3. And that finished product can then be used locally by farms, by landscape companies, by your highway department, any activity that would otherwise buy commercial fertilizer. So that's a truly wonderful local solution. In terms of the cost, when we look at handling your material locally, the payback for buying this unit would be under 5 years and probably closer to 3.5 years because of how much material you're pushing through your facility and then paying to go to a landfill. So you'll have, in under 5 years, you'll pay for this technology and have the independence. So you're not relying on somebody who says sometimes, well, you can't come to landfill today because we have too many trucks or too much material. So can you push off your process for 2 days and then we'll come pick it up? None of that would play into Rob's daily planning any longer. He would be able to control what gets processed, and that final product could be used right there locally. In terms of how we approach this with Brattleboro, we're doing the same scenario with you folks and doing a pilot study to confirm that everything works the way we intend it to, and that Rob and his team feel that it's got a value in terms of making their operation more simple and more independent and a whole lot more environmentally friendly. We had put together a short couple of page summary. I don't know if that got forwarded to you all. But if not, I think Steve has some copies of it he can share with you. And that sort of summarizes the background as to how RMI got into this and why we feel it's so important for communities to stop hauling water.
Anyone have anything else? I'll ask some questions. Wait.
Oh, Stefan was first.
Oh, Steph first. Sorry.
Okay.
Couldn't see his hand.
Two questions. Where did this technology originate?
Guangzhou, China.
Okay. And then I'm reading in here, but I really need to hear some cost. I'm seeing one line here of a $10,500 management fee per month. So, I mean, are we going to own this equipment? If that's our initial investment, we're going to own it? Are we leasing it?
The pilot right now is a lease from November 1st through the end of June.
Okay.
You would have a monthly with that. As Sheila said, the chance to make sure it's the right fit, everything's working. Your sludges and all those questions are great questions, but make sure that that is what you had hoped it would be.
Right.
We get it there. We would apply 50% of what you're paying for those 8 months towards the purchase of the dryer. There is a document that
Did you guys get the document that breaks down the costs?
I didn't see
It
that.
may be here. I haven't read the whole thing, but I mean,
No, just a one pager.
I don't see that.
Okay.
But I mean, that's my initial.
I didn't
Not in the packet.
No.
we didn't get that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't run quantities, so I'll go down it just quickly. So the dryer itself is $326,000. Conveyance, the base frame, everything that we've got with it is included. The estimated cost for installation of the dryer is $30,000. So that total installed dryer price is $356,950. We would give you a discount of 50% for that installation on there. Nets you out at $341,950. That right there is $37,000 less than what that unit would be if you ordered it today. Then the pilot would start on November 1st, and an anticipated end date of July 1st. So yes, it's a $10,500 management fee for that 8-month period
Per month.
per month.
Right.
And then estimated funds applied towards the purchase of the price would be $42,000 for that 8-month pilot. So that nets you out at the end of the pilot at $299,950.
And
Crediting that towards the 341. Got it.
so is this a demo unit that
Well, the
would then be
341 is a
replaced?
straight buyout. So that would
Okay.
be the price to go forward with this and purchase it. The pilot, we would be applying that 10.5 per month of the pilot towards your purchase fee in July, which gives you that $299.
Okay, so what type, you're mentioning in here, in that section 2, management fees, et cetera, cancellation or damage provisions. What's the criteria there? And also, if we were to purchase this, what's the warranty or guarantee?
Well, the warranty would be through RMI during the pilot period. And then we would look at an extended warranty with you beyond that if you were to purchase it.
And there's
So-
costs associated with that, correct?
Yes.
As such as what?
If I can speak to that?
Sure.
Again, it's Sheila Conley. So what we would anticipate is during the pilot, we would work with the team there, Rob and his crew, to train them how to use it, the whole thing. The any costs associated with damage or things that were outside of normal use of that would be what we would have under that clause you were referencing.
Mhm.
We don't have any reason to envision that that would occur. But you know, that is whenever you have a rental unit, you'd have some kind of coverage. The machine
Right.
would be fully insured through RMI, through our policy during the whole pilot. And Bellows Falls or Rockingham could decide to purchase this equipment at any stage of the pilot, thereby reducing your overall cost.
So after the initial
but-
purchase, the 10,500 goes away then, correct?
Correct, yes.
Okay,
Yep. So, but 50% of that 10,500 would be applied monthly toward the purchase.
okay.
So we reduce that
Yep.
purchase price by that
Thanks,
50% of the management fee.
Okay, I think I'm good. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Who was
Thanks,
next?
Chuck.
Yeah, Wade? Whoever-
Wade, did you
My
have?
turn?
Yeah.
Okay. So I'm a bit familiar with this because of the pilot program in Brattleboro, the wastewater. Is that, you said that program there is done now?
Yes.
Okay. I've actually talked to a couple of the operators down there that have operated it and whatnot.
Okay.
My question though is, well, the warranty was one. What, I'm just curious, what happened? So you, at the end of this, you have a product. You're talking about local use here and there and whatnot. What happens if there's not a market for it?
Well, you
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm
It
just saying.
could. Yeah, I mean, there's a chance it could go away. We're a beneficial reuse company, so we're hoping that's the direction it stays. But if it doesn't, you're still, if landfill is the only option that's out there with tipping fees skyrocketing these days and all that, your tipping fee has just gone down greatly. Your trucking fee has gone down greatly. Hooks It, for example, where we're working right now, they went from a 30-ton container a week going for composting, similar to what you folks did up at Claremont, to a 7.5-ton container going out every 2.5 weeks. So that's the reduction of the same production that they've had there. So it's an easier product to manage on site. Your volumes go down greatly. Your odor, you can open that packet right there if you'd like. And I mean, it's earthy, but there isn't really an odor to it. One issue with landfills these days is odor. If you have an odorous product, they will turn you away. So whatever that outcome might be, you're still reducing your trucking, your tipping fees, and your odor management by going forward with this. Even if you're hauling somewhere in the excess of $70,000, right? currently to take it to landfill. If you dried it and stayed under your same model right there, you can take $50,000 off that right now. If you're going,
Per year?
per year.
Yeah.
Under the current model that you've got now. Right. If that's where it goes. So it's taking the water out of it, it's reducing it, and it's a much easier, it's a very, well, it's right there in front of you. It's a dry product that's very easy to manage. You can store that outside in a bunk, in the elements, and wait until you've got a load to go, and we could come and pick that up and put it into one of our tractor trailers and take it to farm. So it can be stored. It's a very stable product. It's not like some other high temperature biosolids that are out there that you may have heard of, where you add a little bit of moisture and wind that goes with it. Those are dried at high RPMs, high temperatures. We're 5 RPMs and 170 degrees.
I'm gonna
It's
follow up too.
really a different technology. It's not drying, it's dehumidifying or evaporating is what it's doing.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Do you have anything? Okay, Stefan has one more
Okay.
question, although we're not going to make a decision.
You
on
mentioned
this
something about a 900-pound bale, or I'll call it a bale or a container type thing. Then you just mentioned we can set it outside. It can be out in the weather and weather. Then your truck can come and take it to a farm. Is there something that says we can't sell it independently or get rid of it independently?
No, and to be perfectly honest, with the quantities that you have, I think we could help you initially. So I'm also the sales manager of that side of our business. We've got 5 reps who live remotely in the field and just cover the Northeast so that we're always staying ahead of production with our residuals that are out there. We could take it, go out there, make a few introductions for you folks. And with those quantities, yeah, you could manage that on your own.
And does it have to be commercial or no? Meaning, could we sell it to the gardener down the street?
Yeah.
You could.
Yeah.
I think somebody in the public had a question.
Topsoil guys like this very much to put the nitrogen in their topsoil as well. So a lot of the quantities go right there. It would have roughly, the finished good product with this is going to be somewhere around 70 pounds of nitrogen per ton and 30 pounds of phosphorus. So a really nice dry product. You can see with the noodle shapes that are in the bag there, when they hit a spinner and a spreader, they break up nicely into small pieces that can settle right into the base of the grass. So it's a nice fertilizer, but the majority of what we do right now would be going either to land application with farm, corn or hay ground. And a lot of the dirt guys like to mix this into their blend to give it some nutrients.
And just my last question, what are the cost? I mean, do we sell that to them farms or
Yeah,
sell it to you?
I think market price on this is going to be somewhere, I don't know, $10 a ton, I think.
Really?
Yeah, and I don't think you'd have to truck it far. So with a lot of what we do, it's a trucking game. I mean, we could haggle over a buck or two a ton for a while, but if you're 30 miles further than the next guy, it makes it tough. So I think with the volumes that you would have and the landscape that you've got around here agriculturally, you could manage this very easily.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Gary, you had something, you need a microphone.
No, that was, my question was market value.
You need a microphone there, Gary. Oh, that was it, so you got it covered. Okay, he was talking about the market, so we're good. Okay, so we're not gonna make a decision about this tonight. I do appreciate your presentation.
Thank you.
I'm very happy to see us moving forward with other ways to deal with our solid waste that we currently are. And we'll probably ask for just some more numbers so we can make a comparison at our next meeting.
Yeah, and if you have more questions, just get them to Chuck or myself, and then I can pass it along to the folks, Sheila and whoever the questions may be pointed to, so that you could get your answers taken care of and everybody's covered. All right?
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you.
Have a good night. Next on our agenda is police department. First, the call log format. We talked about that at our last meeting. It is not included in this packet, but we had them the last time. Did anyone have additional comments on ways? We saw a couple different formats. Were we happy with either one of them? And we're getting them in our emails every week or 2 weeks. Is that it? Is that correct? Okay, so have
We're
people been
getting,
looking at
we're
those?
getting the full,
The
full
full
packet.
list, in our in emails. So
Right.
have people been receiving those? Have you looked at them?
I look at them when we get
Yeah,
them.
when we get them, yep. Yeah, I mean, if we have any
Yeah.
questions, we can always ask the manager to get something to the chief about those.
I
Things
think
that we see.
the question was we didn't want to recreate the wheel. But could they generate by just using the system a version of the report that focused more on the serious issues and drug-related issues
Right.
that came up? That was the kind of the
So
question.
the question is whether the system can be manipulated to provide more serious crimes as opposed to the assists and things like that.
We can change the formats of some of the reports that we can pull out of the system. I've got about 5 different types of reports that we can generate. There are some things in some of the reports that can't be public, like people's names or juvenile names and things like that, that we would have to pull out of them. But we ran every report that we can get out of Valcor to let people see them. And if there are a different format that they want in one of these, that we could do that. We may have to take out some information out of them with a marker or something to black them out. But we did a number of different reports as to how we might be able to do it to provide it to you, the information that you wanted.
Okay. Could Chuck could you get them so we can have them emailed to us so we can see them?
Yeah.
In the different formats?
Sure,
Because we've only seen a
absolutely.
couple different formats.
Yeah.
Right.
So we need to see all of them.
Yep,
So-
yep,
and we
that's
can
what
make
I
a
was- that
comparison
was-
and make a decision on which one works the best for us. That'd be
And you
great.
can redact whatever you.
Yeah, whatever needs to be redacted.
Yes, no, we would
course.
do that. So.
Okay, so that should work. Well, I guess we'll go to a next meeting when we can have a look at the 5 and then say, okay, we like this one.
Yep.
All right. Does that sound good?
Yeah, the other question I have, it might be kind of simple. But, I think maybe 3 meetings ago, Dave, you had mentioned about the blog. And I know I've subscribed to that, but I hadn't really seen anything coming in. I had other people mention to me they haven't.
Yeah.
They've subscribed also and haven't seen anything.
We've been working on that here for
Yeah.
the last couple of weeks there. I got word that they weren't getting any in there. And we checking it out, and the officer that's taking care of it, he went in and we did some test runs on it to try and get some emails out, and they weren't coming out for him at that point. He's
Right.
still working on it.
Okay.
There are still press releases being put in there. But if they're not still coming out, then I will talk to him again. And
Right.
but I know that he is working on it, and
Okay.
it should be coming out to everybody. So
Okay.
if we can get that resolved.
Yeah.
Oh, great. So people wanted that. That makes sense. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah.
For what it's worth, I got to resubscribe to your newsletter email the other day.
Oh, there you go.
So I don't know if that was part of your tab.
It was. We were trying to get it out to people to, if the old subscription wasn't working, we tried to put it out again. Have you received email since then? No.
Not
Okay.
yet. All right. Anyone else? No. Okay. Moving on to the second item was the non-response to citizen calls. More and more in the last 6 months or so, I've gotten a lot of citizens contacting me saying, did this, did that. Nobody came. I know that we have over the last year or so reduced staff, but I still understand over a day or two of why someone doesn't respond to calls. So we wanted to ask you that question, Chief Amos.
Well, we respond to every call in some form or another. I know of one of the incidents where it said we hadn't responded. The officers were busy with multiple arrests or multiple incidents. They had, I believe, one arrest. And they went there later. The complainant wasn't there. And I've talked to the complainant about that, the officers did go. The incident that they had called about was over and done. But officers need to report to respond to everything. Now, if it's something that they can do by phone and it's way past the time, they need to do that, and they know that. We're starting a new thing, and it's not for everybody, but every call that comes in, but we're going to take out a percentage of the calls that come in, complaints. And the supervisor is going to call the people in a day, 2 days, 3 days, and say, how did we respond? How did we do when you had a complaint? What was your level of service from Bellows Falls PD? And hopefully that will give us, a little better read on how we're doing, how the people think we're doing, and to be able to help people if things show up. Well, we didn't see the officer, or we didn't, they didn't come back and call us, then we can go from that and make corrections in how we do business. But that was, and like I say, we're not going to call everybody that was stopped for a headlight out. But if somebody called in and said there were kids making noise, or I heard something going on, we're going to call and ask them what happened, how did we do, and try to get a better feel for that. And that's kind of to do with just this problem that some people think we haven't responded, and and if they don't know what we did, we can at that point tell them, well, we did this, we did that. We were able to see this car that was racing by your house, but we stopped it on the next street over and took enforcement action with that, where the person may not know that.
Okay.
So.
Does anyone else have any questions for Chief Bemis?
So when are you starting that initiative?
I've already called some people on that, but it's starting right now. We're doing it now a little bit, and we're going to increase it. And we're going to get a percentage of the calls, maybe 10%, 20%, however we can do it, and call the people within a couple of days of their complaint to us and see how it went.
Who's making those calls? Is it?
It's myself or one of the other supervisors.
Anything further? Nope. Okay, hearing nothing else. Thank you very much. We need to move into an executive session to cover number 10, the grievance. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Number
sorry.
10?
Yeah. Yes, it takes 2 motions for that. Yeah.
And invite,
And to invite Ray Mastuco.
Okay, number 10
Those
is why the
council-
second motion also.
Yep, exactly.
Okay.
Please, thank you.
how do we get rid of Fact TV?
Well,
Oh,
well, as soon as we go into executive session, then we will be coming back out.
Everybody turn off your microphones. I'll close the.
Right, once we,
The camera will be on, the live stream will still be going, but there'll be no video or audio.
okay, all right,
You're just losing your connection to the call.
Right.
Nobody at the station will be-
okay.
Okay.
All right, Stefan, please.
Okay, I make the motion that to enter into an executive session to discuss grievances and/or IE personnel for premature general knowledge of we clearly place the municipality at a substantial disadvantage while discussing the topic of grievances of personnel.
Okay, and to invite.
And to invite
Those
our attorney
counsel.
Masuko into the executive session and
I
anyone
think
else?
That's it, yeah.
That's it, okay.
And we need a second?
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
And now the second motion, please.
Okay, I move that the board enter into an executive session to discuss grievances under provisions of Title I, Section 313A, one of the Vermont statutes. And to invite into that executive session the attorney Masuko.
Any second?
Second.
All right, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, folks, thank you. We'll be out of, which should not be very long, and we'll be back. Okay. All right, I'd like to move to deny the grievance with the understanding The department is making a concerted effort to fill the vacancy as soon as a suitable candidate becomes available.
Second it.
Right. Any further discussion? Right, hearing none. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All right, so now we can move on to the next item on the agenda. I hope Chuck comes down here. Finances, we have some material in our packet. Shannon wasn't able to attend this evening. Doo-doo-doo. Chuck's on a phone call? Okay, please, if you can, let him know. All right. So all we can really do is review because we don't have Shannon to ask questions of. And these are closeouts for the year.
Yeah. No, I think the year, obviously.
Year end looks good.
We're fortunate.
Mm.
So far this year, a couple of months, we seem to be on track.
Mhm.
So the wild card's going to be the revenues,
Right.
but and we had Shannon had given us these financials earlier in the month.
Right,
So
she
we
had.
had a
The
chance
first,
to look at
first
it.
meeting, but this is because we weren't able to, I'm not sure what the reasoning was, but we wanted to make sure that we covered, so she did our follow-up for us.
Right.
This is great. Okay, looks like we're pretty good on that.
So we're good on the
Good on finances for this point.
Yep.
Looks good. Update on public safety building. I thought Mr. McGinnis would, Chief McGinnis would be here, but apparently not. I guess we're gonna get that from Chuck?
So we're gonna go through the buildings one at a time, just.
No, we're on the update for the public safety building. I
Fire
thought
station.
Chief McGinnis would be here to give us an update.
Oh, okay.
So I did see on your notes from yesterday that the chimney's down.
And he's considering there's a faux chimney versus a real brick. We successfully pulled out the oil tank, which was in the ground. Thank goodness that was perfect. So it was easy to remove and relocate. They're creating a pad. I think it's tomorrow for the new furnace. And so things are going to schedule. Thanks, Jigs, for meeting with Sean and just giving him some feedback. Sometimes it's just good to say the unexpected has happened. What do we do?
My understanding, the pad was for the generator,
Generator, excuse me. Yes, I meant to say generator.
because the furnace is already installed.
Yes, the furnace is installed. I meant to say generator.
Anything else?
I think that's it.
Okay.
I think they said there was 27,000 into it at this point.
Yeah.
And I don't know, the faux covering for the metal chimney
Mhm.
doesn't do much for me, but I think he's pricing out what it would be to
Difference in
brick
cost.
up the back.
Our concern was longevity, and whether it looks good or not it's just trying to get the biggest bang for our buck. Let's get there, do it once, and that way it's good for a time to come.
And there are any other significant items that still need to be accomplished?
With that building, the safe answer is yes. So, but I didn't prepare for this.
Okay, and let's see. So if we're good with that, we now have an update. I think that number 6, the fixed asset disposition policy review. I thoroughly think that we should punt that onto the joint board meeting.
Thank you.
Because it is a joint board item agreement, and let's move it on to the 29th. That way, if we have any comments, things we think need to be different about that policy, that the select board should review as well and make comment. Shannon said, I didn't know if it was here or not. She said she had found something from the water department, I guess, for development of water use and payment policy for other users.
Yeah, it's in here.
Is it in here down towards the back? Oh, I see it. Yep.
It's part of the agreement with Westminster.
Right, yeah.
Okay. And we would want to separate this out to fit others. There we go. Okay. I'm afraid I did not take a look at this before the meeting. Okay, but this, of course, wasn't a this wasn't a firefighting event.
Right.
We don't charge for the fire, for water for their fire.
No, we
right?
don't. No. No, so this doesn't quite fit the bill.
No, not at all.
That's still our concern. So we're still working on it. I had some language the last meeting, and she found this language, which we might be able to manipulate the two of them to turn it into something, because there'll be other communities that might use our services too. You had some, Wade?
Well, the chief water operator has, I don't know if it's a policy written or if it's just, something they use or whatever, but they have a system they use for charging for other than fire protection.
So our water department has one? I haven't heard anything on that yet. I guess I should have asked.
I don't know if
Brian
it's
when he was
written
at
or
my
if it's just
awareness
a
meeting.
standing, rule that they use.
Uh-huh.
Well, we
So,
should find that out.
We should
Yeah.
find that out and use that as a basis for putting this together.
Okay. I can send an email to Brian easily enough. He was just at the ordinance committee meeting I was at last week, and I didn't realize that they had something, so I didn't ask anything about it. Okay. All right. I'll find out.
One of the things that this handout
Mhm.
did show was the question of apparently several of the people in North Westminster that have the benefit of the hydrants are not paying their what is it called?
Fire
Yeah, fire protection. Is it fire protection?
Fire protection fee.
Mhm.
And Westminster has no responsibility for collecting that for us. So we
What do
just
we
don't
do?
get paid.
We
don't
just
get
we're
paid.
just
So-
giving it away.
So the question is, I guess the bigger question is, putting the water out there, was there another reason for doing that?
Yes.
Okay.
Out of my recollection, there was a problem
Mhm.
with a well that was out there that basically, if I remember correctly, the state of Vermont was involved, and the well at some point in time, or at that point in time, wasn't any good or was going to not be any good in the near future. And that's one of the reasons that I'm aware of, that I recollect, because I was here, that the line was extended out there. Plus, at the time, I believe there may have been somebody from North Westminster that came in, and there was some discussion about a possible development out there somewhere near a field by the drum factory. So,
So we put it out there, but we can't seem to get paid for it.
I don't know that.
Well, I mean, I know that fire protection fees are hard to collect. What are you shutting off? Nothing.
Well, there's some people that feel because they're not hooked up with a meter,
They don't have to pay
to pay
it. I know. So that's something we should consider what we want to do.
Right,
about
what we
that.
want to do.
How many
If there,
What?
Go ahead.
if there is, there may not be any alternative other than to just not get paid.
Well, see, and I don't believe they've dissolved it yet unless I've missed a beat, but there was that North Westminster Fire District, they termed it,
Oh,
I
yeah.
believe. That had, I would say, in my opinion, from being here, the obligation to take care of that. So the last I knew, at one point, and I discussed it with the previous manager, or a couple of previous managers, we were owed a balance of approximately 36,000, and last time I was informed that it hadn't been paid yet.
Right.
So I don't know what the status of that is also.
So we in good faith put it out there, extended, the
Yeah.
service because they needed, because Westminster needed it.
In fact, I,
But we have no way to, I mean, it's a fee for something that they may not be using, right? It's only for there in case they have a fire.
This is
Yeah,
for the houses that aren't on the system.
right, they're within,
How many of them accounts are there?
I don't recall, but I do have some information which I can forward to each of you that was, some of it was gathered from a Westminster Select Board meeting a while back where they discussed some of this. And when they, if you recall, the time, I think 3 of us were here that are on the board and you 2 guys were not. There was some criteria that they talked about. Oh boy, how was that? The obligation to pay and the rates that were involved with that. I don't remember the exact, we'd have to go back to the minutes or pull up the video or something. But there was a question as to, that's part of the system, and they were wondering why they absorbed or were the applicable rate increases that we just did were applicable to them. Is it because they're part of the system and everybody pays? So,
Right. Yeah, so forward is what you have.
yeah.
It'd be worth trying to figure out, this is a puzzle we need to figure out.
Yeah,
what to
see
do
if,
with it. We,
you know, see if there's a way that we can,
billing for stuff we never get
yeah.
paid.
Yeah, and if you recollect, part of that was, I believe, the manager from Westminster at the time had come in here and had wanted us to assume
Right.
the
I know
billing,
that.
and it's to our advantage and our best interest not to do that, because right now Westminster Town collects that, what they collect, and then forwards it to us. If we elected to change that or to waive that where we would be collecting it, it's,
We'd be chasing property we can't.
well, we
can't
may not even get
do
anything.
with.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, as a town, I don't believe we have the right to put liens on their property or shut their water off.
Right.
You know, in Westminster, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's definitely more, conversation and finding some way to still deal with the occasional water that might be used to fill a tanker.
Mhm.
So we'd like to move on to the unsafe building update.
Yes.
There's a number of properties on there, which probably have different things going on with them, both town side and village side. I'd like to see where they're.
Considering that I somewhat butchered the update on the public safety building summary and that Chief McGinnis is here, do you want to revisit that just in case?
Oh, I think there's also an attachment in our,
Mhm.
we have documentation in here as well on the update. As I recall, yeah, this one right here, Sean,
Is that the email?
the memorandum,
Yep.
building update,
Yeah,
yeah.
just
So we are,
I wasn't asked to be here tonight. I figured that the summary was enough. If you have any questions, the project is complete, with the exception of the filling the wall back in. I agree that I think brick is probably the
Oh.
best. The project's complete with the exception of filling in the wall that was behind the chimney. That's, I think, the best way to go with that is to brick instead of a fake chimney. So I've got quotes for that. And that was going to come out of the general, just the regular maintenance budget for the building. But we are just barely under budget for the entire project. But the tank is pulled, the furnace is in, it's running, and there was no leaks, so it was good.
okay. I think there's some lawn maintenance that needs to be taken care of. Someone said
Well, they
something
dug
about.
up the tank.
When
Yeah,
we dug up the
dug up-
tank,
yeah.
that's filled
That
in
was
and
our
that's
big
already
Yeah,
been
no big deal.
received.
Okay. Yes, Wade.
I got a question.
Sure.
It seems that, and I don't know the answer to this. Wasn't there, I think when the board was, and you were planning this project, there was a question about when the tank came out, you'd check the foundation for the water leak into the PD basement?
That was a while ago.
Was that part of this?
That we ended up not doing that. So what we ended up finding out that room was closed off all the time. So it was not a leak so much as it was just condensation building up because the room was sealed up. And the answer to that is just, it's a bad room to keep evidence in. And that room they were actually transferred the evidence to another room and left that door open. And
that hasn't been problematic since.
I was just curious. I remember you talking
Yeah.
about it a while back.
Yep.
Looks like we're good.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming.
Yep. Would somebody hand me that paperwork on top of those two files? That's now supposed to be out. Thank you very much. Okay. We got those signed. All right, now we move on to the unsafe building update. Starting with 1 Center Street.
1 Center Street is a very active property right now in terms of a number of violations, all mostly under the public nuisance bylaw, but most recently under the town health regulations as well. We learned, I think it was last weekend, that anytime they show up there, there's a great dispersal of rats. Despite the protests of the owner, we visited a day afterwards. He had asked me to be there at like 10 in the morning or on a Sunday, and I showed up. He did not, but I was able to look inside the building, and there's quite a number of rats there. So that crosses the line into something of an aesthetic concern and into just a public safety issue. So we're reacting to that. Any questions on 1 Center Street?
So that stays on the town side under health. This one.
Yeah, under both ordinances, this is administered under the town side. And I would like to thank Deb for acknowledging the fact that our trustees are understandably hit up with questions as to what's happening, and particularly when those folks show up and the rats disperse to the adjacent properties. That's a concern in that neighborhood.
Wade, you had something?
I just had, how many apartments in that building?
1 Center Street was a foreclosure bought by a family. It's just a single family home.
Family?
It is, we have shut off the water. We've shut off the sewer. It's no longer something that's occupied, but when we started prosecuting this, when we exited voluntary compliance, it had almost a reverse pattern there, where we just started seeing just tons and tons of stuff being added. So there's a game being played here. I'm not sure to what ends, but you'll see more stuff there than there's ever been. And that's in direct response to our work with that property owner.
James, did you have something on that one?
Well, it's just, what is the likely outcome here?
It's the lesser of all evils. You have somebody who bought a property on a foreclosure. They threw a number at it and they finally got yes. They have no ties to this community. They have no interest in this community. Where we go from here, in addition to the aesthetic and the rats, the rodents, we see that the foundation is collapsing. This is a structure in complete disrepair. And I can't say for 1 Center Street, but having done this about 6 or 7 times in this community, the end result is that the taxpayer is asked to take on that burden, because the person just ultimately walks from the property. I have been in conversations with colleagues of mine who are in other communities, and they've had experience with this gentleman, and that's the dance that we play, that the end result is the public's burden.
I mean, the unsafe building ordinance piece would allow us to ask the owner to tell us what his plan for that building is. You believe at this point they're just going to walk away?
Yeah, that these processes that we have assume rationality on both sides, and that's just simply not the case in some of these instances.
So we'll just keep monitoring it. I guess that's the thing. And if at that point, if there's anything that we can do with the public, on the unsafe building ones, we will. But we don't know what he's planning to do with the property, so.
I still think for a public informational piece, it's good to have this conversation here.
Yep, it certainly is.
Is there a sense of timeline?
That remains a moving post, in terms of trying to get an emergency health order before the select board in October. There's litigation that's active right now, so there's a couple different irons in the fire. It's anyone's guess as to how this stuff matriculates through the courts. The courts were slow prior to pandemic. Now it's chaos.
Okay, let's move on to 14 West Street.
14 West Street is a property that is sometimes in compliance, sometimes out of compliance. It is always a property that's colorful and rather eccentric, and sometimes we confuse those eccentricities with breaking ordinances or breaking laws. So right now they are currently in compliance. They're still not the neighbor anybody would want, but they are not in any violations.
Okay.
May I comment, please?
Yes, certainly, Mr. McPhee.
Thank you. And again, 1 Center and 14 West, although different in situations, no one's living in 1 Center and people are living at 14 West. But both of these people and peoples don't care about the law. They're going to do what they're going to do. And am I correct, Chuck? I mean, you can go in there and you can say things to them, and 10 minutes later, they decide, I'm going to do what I'm going to do.
14 West Street, we do have a relationship. I would agree with you that the law is not as important to them, but we do develop relationships with these folks and are able to coax compliance at a time. 1 Center Street is, that's just chaos.
Yeah, and again, I'm concerned for several reasons. I'm not crazy about rats. I lived in the Far East for a while, and I know about them. And also, if I do go to Florida this year, they get in a unoccupied house. And if someone's not living there every day, in a few days, they can do a ton of damage to that house. And in many cases, cause fires and things like that. And I'm frustrated, and I'm not frustrated at you, Chuck. I'm just frustrated with the whole process. I guess it's the type of thing, if you tell Doug McPhee to get out of the road because you're going to cause a problem, I get out of the road and I don't go back in there for a week or two. You tell these people to get out of the road and 2 minutes later, they're back in it. Both of them in the same way. But thank you for your work on it anyways, and don't quit, please.
Understood, Doug. I don't think you'll let me quit.
Thank you, Doug. On to the next item, which is 9 Barker Street.
I will express some cautious optimism regarding 9 Barker Street. The gentleman lacking insurance and not expecting their building to burn down is trying to make things work. And they're trying to find a private remedy, which includes the demolition of that building, the full demolition of that building. We have worked very closely with this individual, and I'm so far pleased. I have not only taken him at his word, but I've also spoken to the companies that he's purported to talk with and confirmed this story, which is we should see in late fall, early winter, a demolition of that structure and at least brought down to a cellar hole.
Okay, so that's what we're anticipating. There's motion on the building. All right, great.
We've hedged our bets, and we have under the nuisance ordinance, there's a structures issue there, what they call the D side wall, I think was what the fire department called it, but I call it the east side wall. The wall facing the Connecticut River is no longer adhering to anything. It kind of drifts. So there is a potential there where under a snow load that would pop out onto the road and create a clear danger to the traveling public. So we're in a position where if the private remedy fails, we have a public option available to us, and we've already done all that homework.
Anything else on this one? Oh, good. Okay. Moving on to 5 Laurel Avenue.
Very similar to Barker Street, 3 to 5 Laurel Avenue is a property that is going to be repaired. Well, I've talked to the owner. Right now, it's the insurance claim does not match their expectations, and the numbers actually absurdly low. So I would agree. So they're working out, trying to resolve this issue of getting properly compensated for either a full replacement or repair of that building.
So they are working on it, but they're working with the insurance company.
Yeah, I mean, thankfully the property was insured, but when they look at the value of some of these buildings and then they offer, they just basically throw a small number at you and hope you take it. There's that owner's a little bit more sophisticated than that and is going to bring it up a notch.
Is the building is unoccupied?
Yeah, you can't occupy that building, and it's secured, which is the best of all worlds. Yeah, that's right.
I had heard that there was other things than that going on, so that's why I was worried about it.
let me know about that. Usually when Deb calls me and says, I heard from a little birdie that something's occupied, it pays to just stop what I'm doing, and go find that person. So, and that's a request of all trustees. You see something going on in some of these properties, let me know. We stop what we're doing. We go check.
Which is a good lead into the next property.
Right, yeah, sure. 66 Atkinson Street.
All right. I'm deeply frustrated, disappointed, and quite frankly, anxious about the advancing decline of this building. We have covered a lot of what I would call town issues that happen in the village, and you all need to be able to communicate that, but you have no direct responsibility. Here, we prosecuted this property under the unsafe building ordinance, and it's under the village's jurisdiction. We have heard of people being inside. I talked to the owner. The individual says it's not the case, and in fact, it is the case. And in going in there yesterday or the day before, I'm blanking on my days already, but what we thought would happen in years in that building, the drift of that structure, is happening in months. It is not a safe space, and we're going to have to move to close this in a more permanent manner so that, we're not going to depend on Mr. Glennon's word anymore. That's not sufficient, both to the harm of the people that could be in that structure, as well as the first responders who may be given the task of an extraction in a very difficult building. What I saw there, and Chief McGinnis, thankfully, has this toy that he can go up and look at the spaces in ways that none of us really can. If you want to add to this, or you would just nod in agreement that this building is under a lot of movement, its failure is imminent. So we have to react. We are right now also working as a team so that everything from Green Mountain Power knows to wrap those poles. And so that if we had a contractor out there like this, they could respond. And so every person that's going to have a team, Chief Bemis has already reached out, gotten all the abutters. So if this building fails, we can do just a rapid call and get the word out to people. This is an all hands on deck issue right now.
I realize it's still in the courts. Ray has not gotten proper responses from Mr. Glennon, and therefore has asked the court to push on that, but I don't know where it's gone at this point. So
I'm not going to talk about the courts and a public meeting. I appreciate that. But I think we're going to be looking at other options to, this isn't going to fit the court's timeline.
okay. So we're looking at, you're trying to figure out what can be done next.
My first thing is to get a better sense of access control so that we know if something happens, we can be assured as fire responders, as police, that there's no one in that building. And that's going to be something that's very important.
So Chuck, obviously the barricades are still on the School Street extension. But the parking lot adjacent to the, I guess, north side of the building is still open. Should that be blocked?
To include the Atkinson Street sidewalk, we're considering that. This was an eye opener this week. So we're looking into that, channeling pedestrian traffic up and around, as well as just simply blocking that. It's a natural area for kids to want to congregate. Mm-hmm. I've seen my own kids just try to do it. And if you don't know the circumstance, it does seem like a natural place to go. Mm-hmm. So that is something we're going to have to control.
Okay, so they're working on it. Mm-hmm. Good. That takes us down to, let's see, the former Chemco building.
That's there's nothing going on with that other than recently we had fire exercises in there, and we've used it, but I'm not aware of any changes in that building in terms of its legal status.
It was on the some time ago. It was on the unsafe building update. It took us forever to get a letter to the owner. We asked they do something to prevent kids going in there. It's still being used as a skate park, I understand. And of course, it's because of the gate. It's hard for the fire and police to get in there, but not for pedestrians.
law-abiding people will look at that gate, myself included, and say, I'm not going on that property unless I've been given permission, because I could conceivably, particularly as a public servant, be, guilty of unlawful trespass. That said, it is wide open. And when we conducted our fire exercises, we saw quite a bit of evidence of usage. So that for a certain type of person, that property has appeal.
Is there anything else we want to do with it? It seems impossible. We've never even had the response from the owner.
Well, hold on a second.
What?
If the fire department is training in there,
Yeah.
how do we get permission to train in there?
Yeah.
I mean, let's communicate with somebody.
Okay, Sean, you're up.
That'll teach Sean a lesson to visit us.
Yeah.
Sean, listen to. One of our members abuts his property
Okay.
and has talked with him about it. So we have permission to use that whenever. The reason why we trained in there is we went in and found that I'm assuming the kids were stockpiling Christmas trees. So we figured that we would take care of that before they did.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never personally spoken to him. I just know that one of our members has. So
it makes it an off again, on again nuisance. We're waiting for the next fire, basically.
Yes.
That's what's happened with this building.
Also, wasn't this up for tax sale on the list or something?
I don't know that. I
Well,
don't
a couple
recall.
of these were 66 was it not?
60
Well, we haven't had a tax.
Haven't had
I know
tax
we haven't.
sale.
We've been talking about it for over 2 years now.
Yeah, I know, exactly. And I think the last tax sale was it 2016, 2017?
It was before the.
Yeah, it
the
was a
last
few years
amendment.
ago.
Yeah.
Wait,
No, I'm good.
yeah, that's the last time. I mean, 66
Yeah.
was behind. I'm not positive they're still behind now, but the taxes weren't that high.
Right.
It was only like a couple $1,000. Someone might have paid it. I
But
haven't
don't we
looked
have,
lately.
like, in reference to I don't want to go backwards, but 66, we have liens, I believe.
We do.
We put liens.
We have liens on the Kimco too.
Well, realistically,
Yeah.
would we even collect anything on these liens if they were sold?
I don't even know, because I talked to Kathleen a couple of weeks ago, and she said if a sale happened of a property, like if somebody passed Mr. Glennon $1, just say, a sky in the, they passed him $1 and said, okay, I'll take the building over from you. And that could be recorded in the town records, but there's no, what stops liens? What gets them paid? I just don't understand. How do you get a lien paid?
The liens would go with the sale. So whoever bought it would inherit the liens.
You would inherit the lien.
Yeah, but-
So the liens still won't be paid. They'll just be sitting on somebody's property.
Somebody else's.
Kathleen's got her hand up. So what do you have to tell us from your expertise?
I mean, it's kind of worthless.
If it goes through the proper channels, the attorney writing up the deed would do a title search and they would find the liens. The liens would be paid. If it was just a handshake and a handwritten agreement that came to me to be recorded, the liens would probably get through.
Okay. So then
But
they
when
pass to the new owner though, right?
I
Assumably.
would say yes. Unfortunately, they usually do have a name attached to them, the liens, but that's why
Maybe we
you
ought to
don't
look
ever
into
do
that.
anything without an attorney.
Yeah.
That doesn't seem, it seems like, we could think we have a lien, but.
Well,
may
you
not have
had
a
the
deed.
same issue with regards to the Hetty Green. There was this question about a mortgage.
Right.
And obviously the buyer wouldn't buy it unless that lien was extinguished.
Right.
So then unless you pay it or the person forgives it, it goes with the property.
So basically then, what I see is the teeth that we have is that we'll never if it's unpaid water and sewer, we'll just never turn it on.
I guess.
I don't
Yeah.
care who buys it, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right, until it gets cleared up.
Then I guess,
So yes, I did. Thank you, Kathleen, by the way. And I do it and appreciate that. Did appreciate that if there's an attorney involved, the liens would be caught. But if there's, like you said, handshake agreements, just taking something over for someone, liens won't necessarily get caught, but and they were attached, maybe attached to the previous owner,
I
No,
think
they're
we-
attached to the property.
Right.
to the property.
I
So
think we
the
have,
new owner would get it.
that's good, and I don't want to refer to it again, but there was something I just read up north with some legislation where similar to what, the handshake thing she's talking about, somebody could come in here and assume ownership of it, and it doesn't matter about a lien, they'd own it. I think the teeth we'd have is that you can, whoever own it, just, we're not going to turn on water or whatever utilities if they aren't paid.
Yeah,
So, I mean, I'll look for that information, and so I'll forward it to each of you guys.
thanks. I didn't include the Hetty Green because it's in a process.
Right, I
and I
understand.
still see the for sale sign still out there, so. Let me see. So that takes to the 25 Hapgood Place. I've forgotten that one. It's the one with the tree on it.
The treehouse.
Tree
Yeah, the
still on
tree
it?
is a tree house. Yeah.
Okay.
It's at
Yeah.
the tail, at the very tail end. Yep, exactly.
This is an old John No property. It's been like that for about 4 or 5 years. It's still in a holding pattern. Also has liens on it. Shannon Burbila, this is was very important to me that some of these properties have liens. They're probably negative assets on their own, but we didn't want somebody that showed up with that, like you said, that dollar. That dollar can cause a lot of problems, and in fact, that's the issue with the YMCA. But this is a property that probably just needs to go to tax sale, but not really sure who would buy something like that.
With the liens, is some paperwork was that Pam sent. It looked like there was like $21,000 worth of.
Yeah, he went out with the flourish, and he owed just about everybody in town when he left. So that's going to be a very difficult property to move under the best of circumstances.
Yeah, and it was a citizen who brought it to my attention because it's been for some years. It's been what we figured maybe 6 or 7 years. It's been like that, and as I recall, it's been boarded up on the front, but there are still concerns if people are on the porch and so on and so forth. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know to what degree it will be damaged if we have additional snow loads for another year. I have no idea.
Well, some of these properties, that regardless of who may buy it, if there is liens or utilities or taxes, it'll be up to whether each board or the Board of Abatement. So if there's someone, I guess, that we would be able to work with, I guess we can work with them. But if people are going to think they're going to swoop in here and take it over and think they're going to open it up and operate it or inhabit it, that probably isn't going to happen with this existing board.
No, probably not.
So.
Well, I thank you for helping us get updated on those because it's been a while since we've looked at any of them.
I was driving down Church Place, is it? That goes to the Central Elementary.
Oh, right. Yep.
The property adjacent to the vacant lot now, where the property was burned and is boarded up.
Okay.
Triple decker. Is that an abandoned property?
It's been tied up. I believe there was a divorce, and that the family is. But again, it's so destroyed that it'll more than likely become an abandoned property. But I don't believe it's fallen behind on anything. But it's all the services have been shut off, and it's effectively worthless. The information I do know comes from the Windsor Wyndham Housing Trust, who did a full audit of that building and just said it's useless. We'd have to bring it down to. Yeah, but they themselves couldn't find an end game for that building as bad as it was, and that was with the town willing to entertain just a donation of the adjacent property just to make that deal happen. There's a couple of properties on that road that are in extreme distress, and we thought that would be a good tipping point to see some investment somewhere to kind of push it forward.
Okay, so not yet. Okay.
Thank
Anything
you.
else on this section? Nope. Okay. All right, moving on to this is just to see if you've had any additional movement on the rental housing ordinance update.
I appreciate having this after the unsafe building update. I'm usually an upbeat person and have an upbeat message, but you have not heard from me yet anything upbeat. I'm pretty excited about the rental housing. We're trying to develop a presentation and information online that's coming along nicely. I've partnered with Leah Clark, who's helping me out. She's trying to customize a message that is accessible to the layperson. We want to essentially get this material out to contractors, to tenants, and to landlords, and try to get the best amount of exposure we can get. It is somewhat on a holding pattern why I attempt to hold the two positions, manager and planner, but I want to hit the ground running when I'm able to just focus on planning.
Do you have any sort of date on when you thought it would come to the trustees to do a hearing on this, or?
Yeah, the date is not so much as the ability to inform the trustees that a rigorous public process was conducted and that I can give you the results of that public process. So somewhat of a, I want to see that, the meat get a certain temperature before I tell you it's cooked.
Okay.
Is this a village?
This would be a village ordinance, yeah. The ordinance committee has looked over it, gone and made suggestions. And then Chuck presented us with a number of places that he was going to push it out there to see if we can get some feedback. So now you're working. So is Leah still working for the municipality?
Yeah, she's assisting and as a planning assistant. So just a minimum wage, yeah, part-time, as needed, not even, the hours are work dependent.
Mhm.
And we're going to see her used in this capacity in a couple of other projects.
All right, that takes us down to the last item, which I asked Shannon to put on here because because of inconsistencies, lack of staff, those kinds of things. Some people want to see their stuff in a packet. Some people are fine seeing them materials online. There was discussion, I guess, a couple of years ago, maybe less than that, talking about both of the boards taking on tablets as an opportunity to receive the material in a paperless form. And instead of receiving wads of paper like this. So I brought it back up because we've had, well, are we going to need our packets? Are we not getting our packets? Is everything going to is coming digital? Where is everything? Just those multitude of questions. So I wanted to bring it up for discussion by the trustees. I know the select board will probably have to do the same thing at some point again. Did anybody have anything about how they prefer to get their paperwork?
I think, I do think electronic is the best way to do it. But I think in order, for example, let me give you an example of the presentation by RMI tonight. You can put a financial analysis in online, but if we're going to deal with it at a meeting where we're going to make a decision, we're going to have
a large screen.
A large screen so that we can see the information. I think, but the constant use of paper and stuff is just so inefficient, wasteful, and I'm going to keep this year-end copy of the financials. And I think from time to time, it might be helpful quarterly or something to get a year-to-date financial hard copy, but that's because I'm kind of numbers oriented. But basically, I think we ought to really try to do it electronically. And I don't need a tablet. I've got my computer at home. As long as we have the audio visual here.
As long as she can share screens on financials and things like that, and
Right.
different types of subjects.
Yep.
Yeah, that makes sense to me. Anyone else?
What's the process supposed to be currently?
Well, the way it has been done for some time is usually a whole packet gets produced. Before Friday, they get distributed through usually the police department used to go drop your packets off at your door and hand you your packets. Because we don't have an executive assistant anymore, that material is getting done by Shannon/Chuck, mainly Chuck. And with all the other things that are needed to produce all this paper and organize all this paper and get it out, it creates a time problem on how many things can you juggle at a time. Producing that packet has to be done digitally anyway. Producing the information you're going to print all has to be done on a computer. So they're technically just transmitting that information to us in an email is all of our material. But some people are really hands-on. I mean, I know I'm gonna print at least one page because I like to scribble. I take notes all the time. So I'm gonna print some of this material. But that's up to me. I have a
Right.
printer and I can do that. But some people would prefer to have their packet. I think you're one of those people
I'm one of those people, yeah.
who prefer to have their packet. Now, at the school board level, prior to COVID, we changed to tablets at the high school, and we were using tablets. If someone wanted a hard copy, they could get a hard copy from the secretary at the SU. And now, of course, because of all the Zoom meetings, everything we now receive is paperless. There isn't any paper. Even the warrants that I have to sign are done digitally these days. Nothing is done with hard copy.
So what do y'all have, tablets?
We use our own computers at home. They have I don't know what program they're using, but they have a program for the warrant signing that they use. So it's not really my signature. It's the one I accepted as my signature.
Right.
To do that. But there's no paper at all. So everything is set up on their website. You can go get your documents in a drive so you can review it all. But
Kinda like a
but I can
docusign.
say, looking at, what the budgets look like at the school level, they're so complicated and you've got them on a screen about as big as this.
Right.
They're really almost impossible to read.
Right.
And you've got pages and pages and pages. It's even bigger looking budget than ours. And I find that difficult. I do. But I manage, I try to make sure I've got plenty of review time. So I go, okay, page, blah, blah, this line, try to get at it when you have questions. So, but so I didn't hear from you two. What do you, you asked how we do it.
I
so
asked what the current procedure was, and
that was the current procedure, but right
but
now
it's
we're
been
in
kind of
flux.
hit or miss because of everything.
Yeah,
not
we're
in
in
place.
flux, yeah.
I don't have a problem with the electronic version. And then occasionally, if there's something I need to print, a page or two of something, you print it.
Mhm.
That's me. I
Yeah.
can work with that.
Jeff,
Well, I think we need to move. I agree that we need to move to electronic, and also agree that we need to have, the reason why people like it is because they have the reference. If we have the reference on the screen, then I think we're set.
you can try that.
I know internally we made the big step just a few months ago that it's fully digital, so I don't accept print anything. I just don't have the time. But before we used to scan a lot of stuff, and that you can certainly see it on your computer, but you can't reference it. I hope you all are saving your packets. At this point, you can do a word search on anything to see how often the Atkinson Street property or whatever. So as you start building a file, and you have years as a member, then you can really start mining that research.
And again, I mean, if a single member wanted a hard copy, someone could print one, right?
Yeah, I like stopping over by Russell Street, and it's easy to do. I prefer Jiggs's porch, but I'll do it.
Well, maybe I'll upgrade and step into the 21st century with some technology.
Well, I understand you may not have a printer,
No, not a printer, but
so printing
Same.
stuff could become more difficult.
yeah, well, we can maybe explore avenues.
I mean, you can always ask
Yeah.
someone who's on home.
Printer's cheaper than a tablet.
What's that?
A printer's probably cheaper than a tablet.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure it is. Significantly, but some people have difficulties with technology, so, there's
Yep.
always that too. And gotta buy paper and toner, the most expensive
yeah.
thing in the world.
Yeah,
okay?
upkeep.
And I have 2 printers, so, crazy.
Well, it's like sometimes I get the emails, but it won't open up. Sometimes it'll open up like that, and most times it will not open up on this smartphone. So I end up calling the village president, and she briefs me.
Yeah, I'm gonna speed.
Or
it
I go
up.
to the website.
Yeah. And you need, or you need a bigger screen because it's hard to read.
Well, yeah.
Again, try to read budgets on your phone. Yeah,
Yeah.
really. Okay, so it looks like we're good to move to electronics, and if someone needs an individual copy, they'll contact management and let them know that they need the copy. Let us review agenda items for next meeting. I don't know, what do we have? What do we have? I don't know if we have anything specifically.
Oh, the water
pro-
use thing, I think.
Yeah, the water use thing, the wastewater department sludge press proposal. We'll want to put that back
Well,
on there.
Yeah, we need the financial analysis.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. We need a financial analysis on that. Oh, we're going to get the different call log formats from Bemis,
right?
Chief Bemis, and we are going to review them so we
Review
can talk about
those.
them at our next meeting.
Right. There was something else that,
Yeah, what else came up? Oh, we had that discussion about, along with the water use, we also had the discussion about the fire
right.
protection
the fire-
use, right?
yeah, in terms of the water service that we have in North Westminster,
Mhm.
the line that we put in there. I'm assuming that some of the people have residential water service, that they actually use the water.
Mhm. Yeah, some of them
Okay?
do.
And then others just have the
Fire
line go
protection
by
fee.
Okay.
Yeah.
Right. Them are the ones that, collecting the.
Well,
And for
hold on a
the water users, they pay Westminster, and then Westminster
Right.
pays
Pays
us.
us, yeah.
Now, see, I think, and I might be wrong on this, I think some of it may be metered, or if it isn't, it may, or if it may be a combination of maybe metered and X amount of bedrooms or whatever type formula. I don't remember
Oh, how they
exact,
calculate it?
but we probably ought to get some specifics on that from the water department
I think, yeah, I
or
think,
finance.
the question is this a service that we want to continue to provide?
Right, yeah.
Well, I don't think, with the exception of this $36,000 outstanding that brings in my mind here, I think the town of Westminster has been pretty good about stepping up to the plate and paying us, but that would be an inquiry, because I really do not know,
Right.
with finance to
Right.
see what exactly is owed.
Right.
Are they paying promptly and on time? And,
So that might be part of the
So I think we need some
agenda item
information.
is
Yeah.
how,
Because
how we're
I
doing.
think we need to make it clear that we're not providing this service because we're good guys.
Yeah.
We've got
We have bills
an
to pay.
expensive system, and we've passed big increases on to our customers because of the work we've done.
Mhm.
And this needs to make it needs to make its contribution
Mhm.
for us to keep doing it. So
that gives us a few things, right? Yeah, so along with,
and that one might not be too soon to expect something on the 13th. I don't know.
Yeah.
oh, yeah.
I know there's,
But we could definitely get a report on how we're doing with
Right.
with our water payments from Westminster. That's going to go on the September 29th joint board meeting. Did anyone else have anything else they wanted to add this time for the next meeting? Which is when? Is it October 13th?
October
Yep.
13th.
Okay, review joint agenda items for the joint board meeting. That'll include that one.
well, okay.
Oh, sorry, something else?
Well, I'll save it for other business, and if we have to go
Okay.
back, we'll go back.
All right, sure. I was looking at what we had to see if what else.
We have the asset.
Yep, the asset item is the only one we have at this point. I don't know what, at this point, I don't know what the select board has put on there either. Guess we'll talk to Gaetano. We'll work on something.
What's the date of that?
The 29th, next Tuesday. 6 o'clock. Oh, that's it. I believe the fuel and propane bids
Bingo.
need to be done on the 29th.
Right.
Pretty positive. Those are supposed to come back in according to Shannon. So we'll have that. We're kind of late. I'm afraid we're going to probably pay more than we should. We'll see. Let's see. Review and approve I'm sorry, we done with that? Review and approve orders, bills, and warrants.
Motion to approve the orders, bills, and warrants.
Second.
All right. All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, that's done. Other business. I'll start with you, Stefan.
Okay, I have a couple items here. First of all, I think it was the resident I'd had a conversation with, and then I received some communication from Mr. Doug McPhee, who's in attendance there tonight,
Mhm.
In reference to Minard's Pond being down. So I took a little bit of a hike while I was up on the hill there, checking out the work on Grizzle Drive and stuff. And looks to me like the pond is, in my opinion, significantly down from where it would usually be. I know Wade lives up there. I don't know if he gets over that direction, but to me, it looks like it's down.
Oh,
So
it's
that's
low.
just bringing it to somebody's attention. And probably Brian would be the proper person to check with for the accurate, up-to-date answer. The other two items and I haven't heard anything from any other communities, maybe somebody else has, but we have two events that would normally come up in a non-COVID year, and that would be the Fireman's Parade and then Halloween. So
Mhm.
how are we treating that? Are we doing anything? Is anything happening or anything not happening?
Do you have something? Oh,
Heard anything?
Okay.
not yet. Okay. Those are clearly things we need
The,
to, you
there's
know.
not there. I was told they're not doing a fireman's parade.
Okay. I know we had some discussion recently about mask and unmasked, and so I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you have Halloween coming up, and
Yeah. And we also thought about maybe redoing the barbecue that
events.
we did
right,
last year. And this probably isn't the year to do it. We
right.
should wait until 2021.
That is all, ma'am.
Yep. Okay. Jigs.
I'm good.
Jeff. Wade.
I don't think I have anything.
Okay. And the only thing I would say is the season's changing. A lot of people are getting some kind of flu or cold going on, along with concerns, but hyper concerns about COVID-19. So although school seems to be back in session, we haven't seen anything going on in our community. It's really apparent from all the scientific evidence that they've talked about, we have to keep wearing the masks. I'm not sure how long we'll have to wear the masks, but we have to keep wearing the mask in order to protect each other. I know my husband had a sinus issue. He gave it to me. He had a sinus cold. He gave it to me. I'm concerned about it. And when people hear you cough, they think you must have the disease. But that's not necessarily the case in this weather. So do everything you can to stay healthy and keep wearing the masks, please.
Get your flu shot.
Yeah, get your flu shots. I think that's all we have.
Yeah, when I make one quick comment,
Oh,
please.
certainly.
Yeah, no
Yes.
problem. I listened to the chief of police report, and I'm one who believes strongly in community policing, and I see it in Florida done quite well. And I think that since the chief has taken over, I've seen a lot more community policing. When I walk, I see the police officers in places in the village that I didn't see them all the time. I think they're all over the village. And I go to Oak Hill Cemetery, and rarely do I not see them driving through Oak Hill Cemetery, looking over things. And I think that he's doing a very good job at that. And that's something that can be probably done more of, but at least it started here. And the police officers, I see them talking to people, say hello and things like that. And to me, not that Ron Lake did a bad job at it. I think that we're doing a much better job at it now. And I like that whole idea of community policing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. McPhee. Thank you very much. So I would move for a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Seconded.
Okay, it's been motioned and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Thank you and good night, folks.